welcome back to EDH Deck Building. I am your host, Demo, and I got some more Kamigawa Neon Dynasty spoilers to talk about here. Some really interesting stuff coming out, and some of them are almost sneaking under my radar here. So, for example, Go Shintay of Shared Purpose. First time I skipped over it because I didn't realize it was a legendary creature, and I'm trying to cover all the legendary creatures at the very least as they come out. So 3 and a white, legendary enchantment creature Shrine. That's right. So legendary enchantment creature, we've seen that before, but this one is a shrine. So you have a commander that is a shrine. Wow. Okay, that's wacky. 1/3 with vigilance. So right away, without even looking at the ability, I'm thinking it counts as a shrine, obviously. So what is there? 2 mono white shrines? So there's 2 mono white shrines we can throw in this deck. I imagine they're probably going to print some more in this set, at least one more, right? And those will all play off your commander, right? So if you have the white shrines, they're going to count your commander as a shrine in play. So that's neat for sure. At the beginning of your end step, you may pay 1. If you do, create a 1/1 colorless spirit creature token for each shrine you control. So it does care about shrines. Very interesting, right? Again, the only thing holding you back here from a commander's perspective, obviously, is that you're mono white. So again, I'm pretty sure there's 2 mono white shrines that already exist. Obviously, we're also going to see more mono white shrines in this set. I imagine for sure 1, maybe even more than 1. We'll see. But mono white shrines, pretty neat. Next up, and man, they got some wacky stuff here for sure. Look at the creature type in this thing. The lettering is so small. It's a good thing I got good eyes. The Reality Chip. 1 and a blue, legendary artifact creature, equipment, jellyfish. Whoa. 0/4. You may look at the top card of your library at any time. That's always great. That's really great, especially when you can get your commander out really quick. As long as the reality chip is attached to a creature, you may play lands and cast spells from the top of your library. Wow. Also has reconfigure 2 and a blue. Attached to target creature you control. So I imagine this is an alternative to equip. Reconfigure only as a sorcery. While attached, this isn't a creature. Okay. So that's the different wording there. Attached to a creature you control or unattached from a creature. Okay. So you can unattach it. Like equipment, you can't do that. Once an equipment is on something, you can only unattach it if it says so, like a Sunforger, or if you attach it to something else. Obviously, reconfigure actually allows you to unattach it, so that's interesting. While attached, this isn't a creature, so your reality chip will then turn into just an equipment, an artifact equipment, right? I'm gonna have to do that deck with this for sure, man. This is one that I'm going to have to put some deep thought into. There's so much going on here. Looking at the top card of your library all the time, that on its own is a build-aroundable ability. That's a lot going on there. It's not super overwhelming. It's not. Nope. I mean, you need to equip it onto something, right? Or attach it. I guess it's not it is an equipment, though. It's an equipment, but it doesn't have equip. So that's kind of weird. Reconfigure. Yeah. All right. So we got a new ability, slightly different than equipment, slightly different, but basically the same idea there. Yeah. I might have to do a deck with that one. A lot going on there. Moving on to Goro-Goro, Disciple of Ryusei. 1 and a red Goblin Samurai. I got to say, I love all these cheap commanders. You know, if you're going to have, I don't know if there's an underwhelming commander, but if you're going to have an underwhelming commander, it's kind of nice for it to be cheap at least, so you can get it out right away and get going. Goblin Samurai. So I think that's definitely our first Goblin Samurai. 2/2. Those 2 creature types don't seem to fit very well together, but anyway. It's a 2/2. Pay 1 red. Creatures you control gain haste until end of turn. So obviously that's a very usable ability. Pay 3 red. Create a 5/5 red Dragon Spirit creature token with flying. Activate only if you control an attacking modified creature. So we got this new word here, and I've seen this already. And what it means is equipment auras you control and counters are modifications. So basically, if you have a creature with a aura or an equipment on it or a counter on it, it is a modified creature, right? So this is going to be a new keyword that we're going to be using in the game, I guess, going forward. So equipment, auras, and counters. So any kind of counter, I would imagine. +1, +1 counter. -1, -1 counter would be a modification, right? Lifelink counter, death touch counter, all that good stuff. Really any kind of counter. I think this is really important. This is a, I don't know if this is going to fly into the radar here, but it is really important, because if you look at like my Nils deck tech that I did, there's a lot of things that put counters on creatures. A lot. Really weird, obscure counters. And all of those creatures are not going to be modified. So yeah, what you're going to do, just like I did with that Nils deck with this, is you're going to want to do some research to find all of those obscure old red creatures that are putting weird counters on themselves. Again, just like with the Nils deck, you had creatures that would put a counter on themselves, like on your upkeep. You could play them turn 1, and on your upkeep, you'd put a counter on it or something. So that gives you a modified creature right away that you don't have to put mana into, right? It just makes itself modified. That's what you're going to want to do with this deck, I think. A little bit, just to make sure you have that modified creature, because you activate only if you control an attacking modified creature. Yeah, so pretty neat. Pretty neat. I mean, 5 mana's, it's not nothing, but just cranking out a 5/5 red Dragon Spirit creature token flying every turn is pretty good. Not bad. Really neat. I like it a lot. And lastly, we got Tamishi Reality Architect. And I thought this was mono blue when I first saw it, but they snuck that little pip in there. So 2 and a blue, Moonfolk Wizard 2/3. So we got Moonfolk. That is very relevant. Whenever one or more non-creature permanents are returned to hand, draw a card. This ability, oh wow. It's so funny. I was just thinking about this the other day. And I can't think of the card. I will put it on screen. There's an Azorius mage. I can't remember the name of it. I'll put it on screen so you can see it. That wants you to be returning stuff to your hand. That's going to fit in this deck. Baron also fits because he wants you to return stuff to your hand. So whenever one or more non-creature permanents. Okay, so right away I was thinking ninjutsu, but this is non-creature. So this is not going to work. Just like I did with Baron, where I thought it would be neat to do ninjutsu there because you're returning them to your hand when you ninjutsu. This doesn't work with ninjutsu, right? Because it's non-creature permanents are returned to your hand, draw a card. This ability triggers only once each turn. So again, you're just going to want to be able to do it on your opponent's turns as well, right? Let's look at the ability though here, the white ability. X and white, return a land you control to owner's hand. Okay, return target artifact or enchantment card with mana value X or less from your graveyard to the battle. Oh boy, okay. Activate only as a sorcery. Okay, so it's activated only as a sorcery, so you're not going to be able to use that on your opponent's turn. So that doesn't work. However, this ability is big. I think I'm going to have to make a deck with this as well. Return a land you control to owner's hand. Return target artifact or enchantment card with mana value X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. So first of all, you're in white and you're returning lands to your hand, which is really important for like a land tax type of effect, right? Well, white has lots of effects where you want less lands in play so you can take advantage of it. Blue actually does as well. Blue has a lot of cards that, very similar to white, where you actually want less lands in play and it'll like punish your opponent. So that's really important, actually. Obviously, the return land thing works with the Moonfolk thing. That's what all the original Moonfolk did. So a lot of the other Moonfolk will fit in here as well. Return target artifact or enchantment card with mana value X from your graveyard to the battlefield. Okay, so I'm going to return a land. That's going to trigger the first ability on my turn. So at the very least, I can be returning lands to my hand to draw a card. Boy, it's going to be really easy to fill your hand here, right? I just said this about Moloku when I did that in my Underwhelming Commanders video. It's so easy with Moloku to fill your hand because you can just pick up all those lands and get a really big hand really easily. Same thing here. You're going to return a land, and this ability you can use as many times as you want, right? You can activate only as a sorcery, but you can just pay 1 white. Just like with Moloku, I can pay 1 white mana, and then the 1 white mana I paid, I can return that land to my hand. I have to have an artifact or enchantment with mana value 0 in my graveyard, but so what? What if I have nothing? It's just really easy for you to fill your hand. If you have a Triskaidekaphile in play or something, really easy to fill your hand. If you want a big hand size, so there's that. There's the returning the land thing, so you can build around that. And then, of course, the sort of reanimate here, which is also, I like the X. I'm really glad they put that X in there so that it makes it limited and not too busted. Also, the activate only is a sorcery. Again, I like the limitations here. I like trigger only once each turn. I like activate only as a sorcery. I like that you have to pay X because it keeps it from being busted. I have a feeling people will complain about that, but I like it. Again, this is one that there's so much going on. I just really got to think about it. Because there's so many directions you can go already. Again, you can do the return to hand thing. You can do the I want less lands in play. There's also returning the artifacts or enchantment cards from your graveyard to the battlefield. You can't cheat the big stuff in, right? You can't like cycle a Decree of Silence and then cheat it into play. It's going to cost you, what, 9 mana? I mean, you could do that, but it's going to cost you 9 mana. It's not going to be easy. I think probably what you want to do here is cheap artifacts and enchantments, similar to a Silas deck where you want lots of cheap little, like a Lotus Petal, where I can have the Lotus Petal in play. You know, I wouldn't put a Lotus Petal in a lot of decks. A Silas deck is one of them because it's just a cheap thing that you can get into your graveyard that you can cast for free. Same thing here, right? I can put a Lotus Petal in this deck and sacrifice it for mana. I suppose I could sacrifice it to pay the activation cost. But I could sacrifice for mana, then pay 1 white, return a land I control the one at hand, put it back into play. I mean, I don't know what the benefit there is. Nevertheless, there's lots of cheap, like a Soul Snare or something, right? That's a good one that I can sacrifice it, and then for only a couple of mana, I can get it back in play and use it again. So lots of really neat, interesting things going on here. This is an interesting one for sure. I like it. I like it a lot. I'm just sitting here thinking, I hope there's no infinite loops here. I wonder if people are, because everyone likes to dig into the infinite loops right away and try to break cards. And I think they have enough limitations on here that you won't be able to, but I'm sure there's always a situation where you can find a combination of cards that will do such, but there's nothing too easy here, I don't think. So I like that. I like it a lot. But that is it. Some more cards, and I'll be making a bunch of these videos as all these cards come out and giving my first impressions of them and seeing where maybe we can go with some of them. Are they underwhelming? Are they too powerful? Just my first impressions, but that is it for today, and thanks for tuning in.